This Real Agriculture podcast is brought to you by Genesis Fertilizers. Nitrogen fertilizer is your farm's #1 expense. Farmers are working together through Genesis Fertilizers to solve the problem of high prices and security of supply by planning a state-of-the-art nitrogen plant. Security and earnings through ownership is the solution. Visit Genesis today at genesisfertilizers.com to learn more.
Joining us right now is Nicole Atchison with Puris. Nicole, great to meet you.
You too. Thanks for having me, Sean.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about Puris. What does Puris do? What's its place in the industry?
So Puris, we are a fully vertically integrated plant-based food company. So that's a mouthful. What does that mean? We actually work along the entire spectrum of processing of peas. So we are a yellow pea processor. We make pea protein. So we're one of the largest manufacturers of pea protein, starch, fiber in North America. And so we have a couple plants in the United States, one in Minnesota, one in Wisconsin that makes pea protein. So we've been making pea protein since about 2015 and commissioned our new facility in Western Minnesota in 2021. So beyond just processing protein, we're also a primary processor. So we operate a terminal where we bring in peas directly from the field. We contract directly with farmers to grow the peas that we use in our process. And we actually go even one step farther back. We have an internalized breeding and development team that actually works on developing the yellow field peas that we use.
We've got a real situation that has happened in regards to trade with China. It is really impacting the Canadian and the the Canadian and the U.S. processors. And it involves some pea protein that has been shipped into the U.S. that has really created a cheap glut of product. Talk about the challenges around that.
Yeah, so right now the North America market is the largest market for pea protein in the world. The United States accounts for about 70% of that. So the U.S. is really the largest market in the world for pea protein. And there is a reason for that. I mean, we're innovative. We have a lot of the kind of like early trends and early adopters in sports nutrition and beverage and plant-based food. But what has that done? That's also created a really enticing market for China, who is a large processor of pea protein, a large processor of pea starch. It's provided an opportunity for them to dump their byproducts into our market at really cheap prices. So China has been processing, to their credit, peas for a long time. They process peas to make pea starch for their vermicelli noodles or rice noodles, and the pea protein is a byproduct. That pea protein was before the growth of the market in the United States for pea protein as a ingredient in food was used in pet food and animal feed. And really that's the quality that it really is designed for is that it's not high quality and it's pretty low functionality in terms of the type of products it can go into. But with the growth of the market, they saw an opportunity to move a lot of volume and just offload a lot of volume here. And at the same time, I think there are likely some strategic moves on that too, right? As we've seen a lot of investment from processors in North America, ourselves and others in Canada making big bets to put up infrastructure on the order of almost $1 billion of investment in North America in processing. The Chinese manufacturers likely have been very strategic and also trying to undercut the ability of those processors to last, because that would give them market control. So there's about 100,000 metric tons of demand for protein in the U.S. China services almost 40% or more of that. So they import about 40,000 metric tons of pea protein into the United States annually. So in July of 2023, Puris filed a anti-dumping countervailing petition with the International Trade Commission to basically attest that China was dumping the protein at less than market value and hurting the domestic industry. And so we are asking for tariffs and duties to be applied to imported Chinese protein. We are in the middle of the petition now. We had the first preliminary ruling on countervailing duties, and countervailing duties are basically duties that counteract foreign governments subsidizing manufacturers to allow them to participate and interfere with market dynamics in another country. So the preliminary decision by the Department of Commerce in the U.S. is basically saying that they have found proof that China is subsidizing the pea protein manufacturers and allowing them to artificially lower their price. And so they put a preliminary countervailing duty of between 15 and 342% on Chinese manufacturers in December. The preliminary anti-dumping, so anti-dumping meaning that they're selling at less than market value or less than the cost of goods to manufacture, that preliminary ruling is set to happen in early February. So we'll find out that in a couple of weeks. And then the investigation will wrap up over the summer and the final tariffs will be set. So this has been a big effort and something that Puris has spearheaded, but it really will support the entire industry and level the playing field by allowing pricing to be at a fair level. When we filed the petition in July, the Chinese manufacturers' primary argument was that Puris and other domestic manufacturers weren't hurt because of their price manipulation. We were hurt because the market was down, which is, I would say, to your earlier point, kind of that whole like Beyond Meat is the bellwether of the industry trend. And what's funny is that in 2023, after we filed the petition, the amount of imported pea protein from China tripled. And they actually imported in 2023 a record amount of pea protein. So they exceeded their previous record and imported over 45,000 metric tons of protein into the U.S. in 2023. And so while they're saying the market is down, they're importing record amounts and kind of further showing like the harm on the market. If you take that protein that's being imported by China, those peas are coming from Canada and Russia. So China is starting to use Russian peas at an increasing clip starting earlier in 2023. And Russia went from 0% of their pea usage to over 12% just in the first 2 quarters. And so we expect to see that increase. The U.S. isn't participating in that market from a peas. If we manufactured all that protein here at home, that would take between 250 and 300,000 metric tons of peas to make that protein. So our kind of argument is that it's better for our farmers to keep manufacturing at home because it builds a domestic market that the U.S. farmer can participate in. And the Canadian farmer is probably already participating in it, but that market is getting taken by Russia. And to maintain that market, having domestic processing where we can have a safe and secure supply is important for the whole system to be resilient.
For food manufacturers, are they not taking this as an opportunity to use some of this, cheaper product to lower some of the costs downstream to the consumer, or is demand not strong enough to deal with this amount of supply?
Good question. I don't have full visibility to the S&D of what's happening with the imported pea protein. Some of it may be in warehouses. Some of it may be being sold, to your point. There's definitely manufacturers who are going to capitalize as long as they can on cheap imports from China. But there is a trade-off to that. And the trade-off is in quality and repeat purchase rate and actually having a secure and safe supply chain. So these are conversations that we're having with food makers every day. And, there will be a change to the market and the market price. And that is not going to benefit everyone, but it will benefit brands who are making the choice to, buy domestic and work with quality products and allow them to really level the playing field in price on certain categories as well. And that, when you look at what do consumers care about, taste and price are really the one and two things, but taste is number one. And it's so often overshadowed by cost because when there's a huge cost discrepancy, it's really hard for a consumer to say like, oh, I'm going to pay twice as much for something. How do you overcome that like 2x price differential with taste? Like that's a hard qualitative thing to do. But if you start to level the playing field in price, all of a sudden taste is going to be much more important in a consumer's decision to purchase, and more importantly, purchase the second time. So buying one time is not the hard thing. Getting someone to buy it twice is the hard thing. And that's where the taste and everything really plays. And that's where I think investing and maintaining our domestic industry, innovation, market-based competition, all of that will drive product quality forward, will improve the base level, not just the premium, but like just the base level entry. So people trying plant-based foods for the first time have a great experience. That's what we need. We need every experience to be great so that the customers come back and we keep growing it. And it's possible. I've seen it. I see it every day with the products that our team and our customers make. I mean, there's some amazing products out there. And then there's also some awful products out there. And my fear is that the awful products are the ones that people are trying and saying, ew, like, how can you eat plant-based? It's disgusting.
Shocking.
Like, it's chalky, it's gritty, it's bitter, it's whatever. Like, there's all of those examples exist, yes. But then there's also the counterfactual of all these products that are great. And we just need to get people trying those ones first. And then they'll see, like, this is like not a sacrifice.
Well, Nicole, no, I just want to, before we wrap up here, February 7th, is that the date of the decision from?
That's supposed to be the date of the preliminary anti-dumping, but it is a government date, so those dates change depending on things in the government. So we're not in control of that.
Well, Nicole, really appreciate you joining us here today. All the best to you. Enjoy your trip to Minot, and we'll definitely be following up with you in regards to how all this goes down and whether or not those duties are applied on Chinese product coming into the U.S. Thanks a lot.
Yep. Thank you, Sean.